Religion has commodified silence. Spirituality has packaged it, and meditation apps have digitized it, all missing the fundamental point that true silence can't be bought, taught, or downloaded. We've turned the most natural state of being into a product to be consumed, a skill to be mastered, a goal to be achieved. In our desperate attempt to find peace, we've created an entire industry around selling what's already freely available to everyone. The greatest spiritual scam of our time isn't that we're being sold enlightenment. It's that we're buying into the belief that we need someone or something to help us access our own natural state. The deepest truths emerge in moments of complete stillness. That split second when the world fades away and something profound whispers through the quiet. Not in the chaos of rushing thoughts, not in the clamor of endless doing, but in that sacred space between breaths where wisdom flows naturally. Each of us carries within an untapped reservoir of power, not the kind that conquers or controls, but the kind that flows and transforms. Like a river carving its path through mountains, this power doesn't force its way. It simply moves with unwavering presence, shaping reality through persistence rather than resistance. In the depths of the Grand Canyon, where layers of time tell stories of patience and persistence, nature demonstrates this profound truth. The Colorado River didn't force its way through solid rock. It flowed consistently, naturally, allowing the journey to unfold over millions of years. No resistance, no struggle, just pure alignment with its own nature. This moment, right now, holds the same transformative potential. As the noise of the world swirls around us, there exists a deeper current of wisdom waiting to be accessed, but we've forgotten how to listen. We've lost touch with our natural state of being, constantly pushing against the flow of life instead of moving with it. Think about your own journey. When did the most significant changes in your life occur? Was it when you forced them into existence, or when you finally stopped resisting what needed to happen naturally? Those moments of true transformation often come not from doing more, but from allowing what is already in motion to unfold. The modern world has conditioned us to believe that growth requires struggle, that success demands constant striving, that peace must be fought for. We fill every moment with noise, mental chatter, digital distractions, endless activities, afraid that in silence we might confront our own truth. But what if everything we're seeking exists in the spaces between our thoughts? What if the answers we're desperately searching for are waiting in the silence we so fearfully avoid? The irony is that while we're pushing so hard to move forward, we're actually resisting the very force that could carry us effortlessly toward our dreams. Consider how a flower blooms. It doesn't strain or stress about the process. It doesn't wake up each morning with a list of shoulds and musts. It simply responds to the natural rhythms of life, opening its petals in perfect timing with the... Your own growth can be just as natural, just as effortless. If you learn to align with the silent wisdom, look at your own hands for a moment. These incredible instruments of creation don't need your conscious control to function. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, your cells regenerate, all without your direct intervention. Yet somewhere along the way, we lost trust in this innate intelligence that orchestrates the symphony of our existence. The weight of resistance we carry is exhausting. Resisting our emotions, our circumstances, our own natural evolution. This resistance creates the very suffering we're trying to avoid. It's like swimming against a current, expending precious energy, fighting against the very force that could carry us to our destination. The true power lies not in what we do, but in what we allow. Not in how hard we push, but in how deeply we listen. Not in how much we acquire, but in how fully we open ourselves to receive. This isn't passive surrender. It's active alignment with the natural flow of life. Feel into the difference between forced action and inspired action. One depletes while the other energizes. One creates resistance while the other dissolves it. One comes from fear while the other flows from wisdom. The quality of our lives isn't determined by how much we do, but by how aligned our actions are with our natural way of being. You might be wondering about the practical application of this wisdom. After all, we live in a world that demands action, results, and constant progress. But consider this. What if your most powerful actions could arise naturally from a place of deep inner knowing rather than external pressure? What if success could flow as naturally as water finding its path downhill? Beneath the surface of our daily lives runs a current of infinite potential. Most of us skim across the top, caught in the turbulence of endless doing, while the deep, transformative power flows untapped beneath. We've been taught to chase, to pursue, to make things happen. But what if the real magic lies in learning to be still enough to let things come to us? The universe operates on principles of attraction, not pursuit. Like the moon drawing the tides, like gravity holding planets in their orbits, there exists a natural force that brings everything to its proper place at the perfect time. This isn't mystical thinking. It's the fundamental way life operates when we stop interfering with our constant doing. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check its progress. You don't pull on the sprout to make it grow faster. You create the conditions for growth and then trust in the natural process. Your life, your goals, your deepest desires operate under the same principle. The art lies not in forcing outcomes, but in preparing the soil of your consciousness and trusting the natural unfolding. Every time you feel the urge to push harder, to force results, to make things happen through sheer will, pause and ask yourself, what am I resisting? What am I afraid will happen if I let go? What natural process am I interrupting with my need for control? The mind creates elaborate stories about what might go wrong if we're not constantly vigilant, constantly in control. But look at your own life experience. Having the most beautiful things often come unexpectedly. Having the most profound insights arrived in moments of surrender rather than struggle. Think about breathing for a moment. When you try to control your breath, it becomes rigid, uncomfortable, unnatural. But when you let go and allow your body's wisdom to take over, breathing happens effortlessly, perfectly regulated to your needs in each. This same principle applies to every aspect of life. The noise in our minds drowns out the subtle guidance that's always available to us. We've become so accustomed to the internal chatter that we mistake it for who we are. But you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts arise. In the space between thoughts lies a wisdom that knows exactly what you need and when you need it. Consider how often we rush to fill silent moments with activity, with planning, with worry about the future or regret about the past. But it's precisely in these silent moments that life can speak to us most clearly. When was the last time you allowed yourself to sit in complete silence with no agenda, no goal, no need to figure anything out? The paradox is that the more we let go of controlling outcomes, the more naturally things flow in the direction of our highest good. This isn't about becoming passive or giving up on our dreams. It's about understanding that there's a greater intelligence at work, one that knows the perfect timing and perfect path for everything we desire. Look at any area of your life where you're experiencing struggle. Where are you pushing against the natural flow? Where are you trying to force outcomes instead of allowing them to emerge naturally? The resistance you feel is often a signal that you're working against, rather than with, the natural order of things. Our culture celebrates the myth of the self-made individual, the person who forces their way to success through sheer willpower. But this approach is like trying to push a river. It requires enormous energy and ultimately works against the natural flow. True power comes from aligning with the current, understanding when to act and when to allow. The silence we're exploring isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of something far more profound. It's the space where inspiration arises, where intuition speaks, where wisdom flows naturally. In this silence, we can hear the subtle guidance that's always available to us. When you find yourself caught in the grip of anxiety about the future, pause and notice how much of your stress comes from trying to control things that are actually beyond your control. Notice how your body responds when you simply allow things to be as they are, when you trust in the natural unfolding of events. This natural way of being requires a fundamental shift in how we approach life. Instead of asking, what should I do? Ask what wants to happen. Instead of forcing solutions, allow them to emerge. Instead of pushing for results, create the conditions for natural growth and trust the process. In the depths of your being lies a knowing that transcends all the knowledge you've accumulated. This knowing doesn't speak in words or logic. It communicates through feelings, through intuitive flashes, through that quiet sense of rightness that emerges when you're aligned with your true path. The noise of the world teaches us to doubt this inner knowing. And we've learned to trust external authorities more than our own inner wisdom. But consider their major breakthrough, every significant discovery, every profound transformation in human history began with someone trusting their inner guidance, even when it contradicted conventional wisdom. Your body is constantly sending you signals, offering guidance through sensations, emotions, and intuitive nudges. But we've become so disconnected from this natural wisdom that we override these signals with our mental chatter. We ignore fatigue until we're exhausted. We suppress emotions until they emerge as physical symptoms. We dismiss intuitive warnings until we're faced with consequences we could have avoided. The path of natural unfolding requires a different kind of strength, not the strength to force and control, but the strength to remain open and receptive. It takes courage to trust the process when everything around you is pushing for immediate results. It takes wisdom to recognize that sometimes doing nothing is more powerful than doing something. Think about relationships, the ones that flourish and the ones that struggle. The flourishing ones usually have space to breathe, the room for natural evolution. The struggling ones are often suffocated by expectations, demands, and attempts to control. This principle extends to every area of life. Career, creativity, personal growth, even spiritual development. When you stop trying to force life into your predetermined molds, something miraculous happens. Life begins to show you possibilities you couldn't have imagined. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. Solutions emerge that are far more elegant than anything you could have planned. The mind wants guarantees, wants to know how everything will unfold. But life doesn't work that way. Life unfolds in mysterious ways, often bringing us exactly what we need, though rarely in the form we expected. The key is learning to trust this process, to remain open to possibilities rather than fixated on specific outcomes. Watch how children learn and grow when left to explore naturally. They don't need instruction manuals for curiosity. They don't need motivation techniques to pursue what interests them. Their natural state is one of growth, learning, and evolution. Somewhere along the way, we lost touch with this natural way of being. The silence we're exploring is like fertile soil. It contains all the nutrients needed for growth, all the potential for creation. But just as a farmer can't force crops to grow faster by pulling on them, we can't force our evolution by constant doing. We can only create the conditions for natural growth and trust the process. Consider the times in your life when you've tried to force something, a relationship, a career move, a creative project. How much energy did you expend? What was the quality of the outcome? Now remember times when things flowed naturally, when the right opportunities or people showed up at exactly the right moment. Notice the difference in how these experiences felt and what they produced. This natural way of being requires us to develop a different relationship with time. The mind wants everything now, but nature has its own timing. A seed doesn't become a flower overnight, no matter how much we might wish it. Everything has its season, its natural rhythm of development. The paradox is that when we stop trying to control time, when we align with natural timing, everything seems to happen more efficiently. It's like catching a wave. Try to force it and you'll struggle. Align with it and you'll be carried. In moments of uncertainty, when the pressure to act becomes intense, remember that sometimes the most powerful action is to become still. In that stillness, you can hear the guidance that's always present. You can sense the natural next step. You can feel the difference between forced action and inspired action. This isn't about becoming passive or surrendering your power. It's about aligning with a greater power, one that operates through natural laws rather than forced outcomes. It's about recognizing that you are part of a larger intelligence that knows exactly how to bring your deepest desires to fruition. When faced with a decision or challenge, instead of immediately jumping into action, create space for natural wisdom to emerge. Instead of forcing solutions, allow them to reveal themselves. Instead of pushing against what is, align with the natural flow of life. Within the tapestry of life, there exists a natural order, a flow that moves all things toward their highest expression. This flow doesn't operate on our timelines or conform to our plans. It moves with a wisdom that sees beyond our limited perspective, orchestrating events in ways our minds could never conceive. The greatest barrier to experiencing this natural flow isn't external circumstances, it's our own resistance. We resist through our judgments about how things should be, through our attachments to specific outcomes, through our fear of letting go. Each moment of resistance creates tension in our bodies, confusion in our minds, and separation from our natural state of being. What would change in your life if you deeply trusted that everything was unfolding exactly as it should, not as a philosophical concept, but as a lived experience? How would you move through your days if you knew at the core of your being that life was supporting your highest good in every moment? What about my problems? What about my unfulfilled desires? What about all the things that seem to be going wrong? These very questions reveal our fundamental misunderstanding. We see life as something to be conquered rather than something to be aligned with. Every challenge in your life right now is an invitation to deeper trust, to greater alignment, to more complete surrender to the natural flow. These challenges aren't obstacles to your growth. They are your growth manifesting in exactly the form you need for your... When you find yourself struggling, pause and ask, what am I trying to control? What am I afraid to let go of? What would happen if I trusted the natural unfolding of this situation? The answers might surprise you, revealing layers of resistance you didn't even know you were carrying. Consider how much energy you spend trying to make things happen, trying to prevent things from happening, trying to know what will happen. This constant effort to control the uncontrollable creates a state of chronic tension, blocking the very flow. The natural state of your being is like a clear mountain stream, pure, flowing, unobstructed. But we've placed so many dams and diversions in this stream through our fears, beliefs, and attempts to control. The practice isn't about adding anything new. It's about removing these obstacles and allowing our natural state to emerge. Watch what happens when you simply observe your thoughts without trying to change them. Notice how emotions naturally shift and transform when you allow them to be present without resistance. See how situations naturally resolve themselves when you stop forcing solutions. This isn't about ignoring problems or avoiding responsibility. It's about understanding that the most effective action comes from a place of alignment rather than resistance. When you're aligned with the natural flow, right action emerges spontaneously without struggle or strain. Think about times in your life when everything fell into place effortlessly. Those moments weren't random. They were examples of what's possible when you're in alignment with the natural flow. The challenge is learning to trust this flow even when things appear to be falling apart rather than falling into place. Your natural state is one of peace, clarity, and connection. When you're not experiencing these qualities, it's not because you need to add something to yourself. It's because something is blocking your natural state from expressing itself. Usually, that something is your own resistance to what is. The practice of allowing everything to come naturally requires a fundamental shift in how we relate to life. Instead of seeing life as something to be controlled, we begin to see it as something to be danced with. Instead of forcing our way through obstacles, we learn to flow around them like water. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a moment-by-moment choice to trust rather than control, to allow rather than force, to flow rather than resist. Each time you make this choice, you strengthen your connection to the natural wisdom that's always guiding you. When facing decisions, rather than forcing yourself to figure everything out, create space for natural clarity to emerge. When dealing with challenges, rather than immediately jumping into action, allow yourself to feel what natural response wants to arise. When pursuing goals, rather than pushing for results, align yourself with the natural momentum that's already moving in that direction. The greatest truth about natural living lies in its profound simplicity. When we peel away the layers of complexity our minds create, we discover an essential understanding. Life knows how to live itself through us. Just as your heart knows how to beat, and your lungs know how to breathe without conscious direction, there exists a deeper intelligence orchestrating every aspect of existence. This natural intelligence operates through you in every moment, whether you're aware of it or not. It's in the perfect timing of your digestive system, the intricate dance of your immune response, the subtle adjustments your body makes to maintain balance while walking. This same intelligence that keeps planets in orbit and guides birds in migration is available to guide every aspect of your life. If you learn to trust it, the journey of natural living isn't about adding more knowledge or developing new skills. It's about removing the obstacles that block your connection to this innate wisdom. These obstacles aren't external. They're the internal barriers we've created through years of learning to distrust our natural impulses, to override our intuitive knowing, to force outcomes rather than allow them to emerge. Consider how often you fight against your natural rhythms. You push yourself to stay awake when your body signals for rest. You force yourself to be productive when your system calls for regeneration. You rush through experiences your soul longs to savor. Each time you override these natural signals, you create distance between yourself and the wisdom that's trying to guide you. The practice of natural living requires a fundamental shift in how we approach every aspect of life. Instead of seeing challenges as problems to be solved, we begin to recognize them as invitations to align more deeply with our natural wisdom. Instead of forcing solutions, we create the conditions for solutions to emerge naturally. Instead of pushing for growth, we learn to remove the obstacles to natural growth. This shift doesn't happen through force or willpower. It happens through surrender and trust. Each time you choose to listen to your body's wisdom rather than override it, you strengthen this trust. Each time you allow emotions to flow naturally rather than suppress them, you deepen this connection. Each time you follow your intuitive guidance rather than forcing logical solutions, you expand your capacity to live naturally. The mind-might object asking how anything would get done if we stop pushing and forcing. But look at nature. Everything gets done, and with perfect timing, seeds sprout, flowers bloom, fruits ripen, seasons change. This same natural timing applies to human endeavors when we learn to align with it rather than fight against it. Natural living doesn't mean becoming passive or surrendering your power to act. Instead, it means learning to distinguish between forced action and inspired action. Forced action depletes energy and creates resistance. Inspired action energizes and creates flow. The difference lies not in what you do, but in where the action originates, from mental pushing or natural emergence. As you move forward from this moment, carry with you these essential truths about natural living. Trust that everything you need comes to you at the perfect time. The universe operates on principles of perfect timing and perfect order. When you align with this natural timing rather than fighting against it, everything unfolds with grace and ease. Allow yourself to be guided by natural wisdom rather than mental concepts. Your body, emotions, and intuition are constantly offering guidance. Learn to listen to these natural signals rather than override them with mental shoulds and musts. Recognize that resistance is a signal, not an enemy. And when you feel resistance, it's often a sign that you're working against natural flow rather than with it. Instead of pushing harder, pause and allow natural wisdom to remember that your natural state is one of peace, clarity, and alignment. When you're not experiencing these qualities, it's not because you need to add something. It's because something is blocking your natural state from expressing itself. Understand that every challenge in your life is an invitation to trust more deeply in natural unfolding. These challenges aren't obstacles to your growth. They are your growth manifesting in exactly the form you need for your evolution. The path forward is both simpler and more profound than we imagine. It's not about adding more techniques, strategies, or knowledge. It's about removing the obstacles to what's natural, allowing our innate wisdom to guide us, trusting in the perfect unfolding of each moment. As you return to your daily life, you might find old patterns of forcing and controlling, trying to reassert themselves. When this happens, don't resist. Simply notice. Let each moment of awareness be an opportunity to choose again, to align again, to trust again in the natural unfolding of life. You are not separate from the intelligence that moves the stars, that grows the flowers, that beats your heart. You are that intelligence expressing itself in human form. When you align with this truth, everything you need comes naturally, everything you seek finds you, and everything you're meant to become unfolds effortlessly. Let this understanding sink deeply into your being. Let it transform how you move through the world. Let it remind you, in moments of doubt or difficulty, that there's a natural wisdom always guiding you toward your highest good. The choice is always yours, to force or to flow, to control or to allow, to resist or to trust. Choose wisely, choose naturally, and watch as life unfolds in ways more beautiful than you could have imagined. In closing, remember that this journey of natural living is not a destination, but a continuous unfolding. Each moment offers a fresh opportunity to align with natural wisdom, to trust in perfect timing, to allow life to live itself through you in its most beautiful expression. May you walk forward with renewed trust in the natural unfolding of your life, knowing that everything you need comes to you naturally when you create the space to receive it. May you find the courage to let go of control and the wisdom to trust in the perfect timing of all. Rest now in this knowledge, in this trust, in this natural way of being. Everything you seek is seeking you. Everything you need comes naturally when you're ready to receive it. Everything you're meant to become is already unfolding perfectly in its own time, in its own way, through the power of silence and natural living. Let the silence that follows these words be your teacher, your guide, your reminder of the natural wisdom that's always present, always available, always working for your highest good. In this silence, find your truth, your path, your natural way of being. The journey continues naturally, perfectly, eternally. And so it is.